Marriage. The word alone is wrapped in white dresses, rose petals, and slow dances under fairy lights. But beneath the veil lies something darker, something most men won't talk about until it's too late. Not because they're weak, but because the system was never designed for them to win. You see, every culture has its myth, and one of the most profitable myths in modern society is this: if you're a good man, you'll get married, and if you love her enough, you'll both live happily ever after. But what they don't tell you is that this myth is built on the silent suffering of men who gave everything and lost themselves in the process. This isn't bitterness. This isn't misogyny. This is clarity. And for those who've already walked through the fire, this is validation. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Marriage doesn't protect men. It exposes them. It exposes your finances, your mental health, your freedom, and sometimes your very identity. It turns providing into performance, commitment into compliance, and love into legal obligation. And for many men, the moment the ring slides on, something begins to shift. Not instantly, but quietly, subtly, systematically. The man who once felt chosen now feels trapped. He doesn't know how to explain it. He doesn't want to sound ungrateful. After all, this is what he was told to want, right? But deep down, he senses the change. His value is no longer in who he is, but in what he can give. His patience, his income, his attention, his silence. It's not that marriage itself is evil. It's that modern marriage is built on unspoken expectations that silently strip men of power. And if you don't know the game, you'll be played. So today, we're breaking the silence. We're unpacking how marriage, while marketed as the ultimate commitment, can become the ultimate trap. Not for all, but for many, especially those who go in blind. We'll walk through the hidden dynamics that tip the scale, the legal structures that turn heartbreak into financial ruin, and the emotional strategies used to keep men guilt-bound even when they're being drained. Because before you sign that contract, you deserve to know what you're actually signing up for, not the fantasy, the reality. And if you've already walked that path, this won't reopen wounds. This will explain why they never healed. Early emotional traps men don't see coming. It rarely begins with control. It begins with charm, affection, laughter, the feeling that maybe, finally, someone sees you. And, in the beginning, she does. She listens, mirrors your values, matches your energy. It's intoxicating, so naturally. You let your guard down. But that's where the shift begins. So slow you'd miss it if you weren't paying attention. One day, your independence becomes distance. Your hobbies? Immature. Your ambition? Selfish. It's not framed as criticism. It's framed as concern. And because you care, you listen. You compromise. You adjust. You think, this is what growth looks like. This is love. But love should not require the erosion of your identity. And yet, for many men, marriage becomes the slow drip of self-erasure. Not because they married the wrong woman, but because they never saw the invisible test they were being measured against. You see, a man's value in dating is often based on potential. But in marriage, his value becomes transactional. What can you provide? How much can you endure? Will you break or bend? Over time, the goalposts move. The affection gets conditional. The appreciation gets rare. And if you ever speak up, you're told you're overreacting, that other men have it worse, that this is just how relationships are. You're guilted into silence. Because she does so much, right? Because at least she stayed. But no one asks what you've given up. No one asks what it's doing to your mind. And here's where the real trap lies. Once you've been trained to feel grateful just to be tolerated, you'll stop expecting to be cherished. This is why so many men stay, not because they're weak, but because they've been emotionally conditioned to believe that discomfort is proof of devotion, that silencing yourself is a form of maturity, and society applauds it. Because as long as you're suffering quietly, you're easy to control. But let me say this plainly. If your love is only valid when you're exhausted, it's not love. It's leverage. So many men miss this until they're too deep, until there are children, mortgages, legal bindings, and suddenly, walking away means losing everything. This is not about demonizing women. This is about awakening men to the subtle psychological warfare that unfolds under the banner of commitment. Because emotional manipulation doesn't always come with shouting or slamming doors. Sometimes it comes with silence, with withheld intimacy, with a cold shoulder when you say no. Sometimes it looks like being the emotional punching bag when she's having a bad day, or feeling like a stranger in your own home, or wondering why you can't remember the last time someone asked, "Are you okay?" This isn't a rant. This is a mirror, and the man you were before marriage, the one full of vision, fire, and freedom, he didn't die. He was buried, and it's time to unearth him. The legal system is not your ally. Here's a truth most men don't realize until it's too late. The legal system is not built to protect you. It is built to extract from you. Divorce is not just the end of a relationship. It is the beginning of state-sanctioned asset reallocation. Let's speak plainly. You can be a faithful husband, a loving father, the primary provider, and still lose your house, your savings, and custody of your children because she decided she was unhappy. In many jurisdictions, fault doesn't matter. Adultery, disrespect, manipulation, irrelevant. All she has to do is say the marriage has broken down, and the system takes over. You think you're going into a negotiation. You're not. You're entering a machine, one designed to bleed you slowly, while convincing you it's fair. She gets the benefit of the doubt. You get the bill, alimony, child support, legal fees. Even if she earned less by choice, you're now financially responsible for her life. And if you push back, you're labeled bitter, controlling, or worse, abusive. Family courts don't care about truth. They care about appearances. And when men show emotion, it's seen as instability. So you stay calm. You get strategic. You play by the rules. But the rules were never written for you. Here's what makes it worse. If you've built anything, businesses, investments, real estate, you now have to divide it. Not because she helped build it, but because she was there. Decades of discipline, split in an instant. And custody? You'll be lucky to get weekends, even if you were the involved, loving parent. Courts assume mothers are default caregivers. So what do men do? They give up. They sign the papers. They tell themselves, it's not worth the fight. And that's exactly how the system keeps operating. Because silence looks like consent. Let's be honest. Many marriages today are just legalized vulnerability for men. An agreement that says, I'll give you my loyalty, my income, my time. And if you decide to leave, you can take half of everything I worked for. And this isn't just a warning, it's a wake-up call. You need to understand what's at stake before the papers are signed. Before you co-sign a mortgage. Before you merge finances. Before you start a family with someone who treats love like leverage. Marriage without legal reform is not unity. It's risk management, with only one side carrying the risk. This is not about bitterness. This is about awareness, because too many men walk into marriage with hope in their hearts. and walk out with their soul, finances, and future in pieces. You don't have to be paranoid, but you do have to be prepared. Not every woman is out to exploit you, but the system won't protect you if she does. The psychological toll of being the good man. Let's talk about the silent suffering, the kind of pain men are taught to carry without complaint. You were the provider, the protector, the partner who stayed up late, worried about bills and responsibilities, while she was scrolling or sulking. You tried to be the good man. And what did it get you? Resentment, withdrawal, eventually betrayal or abandonment. See, no one warns men what it really costs to be the good man in a system that rewards appearance, not integrity. You're taught that if you just stay patient, kind, and selfless, she'll appreciate you, she'll love you more. But instead, something darker happens. She loses respect. Why? Because many women today mistake gentleness for weakness. They test boundaries not to break you, but to feel your strength. And when you keep absorbing disrespect, saying it's okay, I understand, or she's just emotional, she doesn't feel safe. She feels superior. The more you contort yourself to avoid conflict, the more she believes you have no spine. And here's the twist. You're not even doing it for her. You're doing it because you were taught to be a good man. You believed in honor, in commitment, in standing by your word. But what if she doesn't believe in those things? What if her love is conditional, performance-based, fleeting? You start to lose yourself. You question your worth. You go quiet, not out of peace, but out of numbness. You feel your masculinity slip away day by day. Because how do you stay strong when everything about your role feels weaponized against you? You're not allowed to express hurt. You're not allowed to question the dynamic. You're not even allowed to say, this feels unfair, because suddenly you're the aggressor, the narcissist, the emotionally unavailable one, so you bottle it up. You internalize it. You smile for photos. You fake normalcy. But inside, you're decaying. And the worst part, no one notices. Because when men fall apart, they do it in silence. They don't lash out. They withdraw. They disappear. And when they finally break, the world says, why didn't he speak up? Why didn't he ask for help? Because when you do speak up, they say, you're just bitter. You're toxic. You couldn't handle a strong woman. Being the good man in a toxic dynamic is psychological erosion. And the damage isn't visible, but it's deep. It shows up in your health, your sleep, your work, your confidence, and it leaves you wondering, was I ever loved or just used? The answer, if love was contingent on compliance, it wasn't love. If your needs were never honored, it wasn't a partnership. It was a transaction, with your soul as the currency. But here's what you must remember. Being a good man does not mean tolerating manipulation. Being a good man does not mean abandoning yourself. True masculinity is not passivity. It is not appeasement. It is grounded power, clear boundaries, and the courage to walk away from anything that diminishes your integrity. You don't have to become cold or cruel, but you do have to stop being consumed. Because sacrificing your identity for the sake of keeping the peace is not noble. It's self-destruction. And brother, you are worth more than that. The myth of mutual sacrifice. One of the most dangerous lies sold to men is this. Marriage is about sacrifice. Both sides give equally. Both lose a little to gain a lot. But ask any man who's lived through a modern divorce. Who really sacrificed? Who lost the house? Who pays monthly to someone who left? Who gets limited time with the kids they helped raise? The myth of mutual sacrifice sounds noble, until you're the one carrying the cross while she walks free. Here's the hard truth. In many modern relationships, men sacrifice by default. They give up personal dreams. They work longer hours. They absorb the emotional turmoil, quietly. And what do they get in return? Conditional intimacy, weaponized affection, and sometimes legal punishment for trying to lead. We were told love is a partnership. But what happens when she changes the contract midway? Suddenly, what you give is expected, and what you need is too much. She wants emotional availability, but when you open up, she says, "Man up." She wants presence, but still craves chaos and mystery. From someone else, you show up, you stay loyal, you give, and she says, "I need space. I need more. I don't feel the spark anymore." So you sacrifice again. You read the books. You go to therapy. You try to fix what she won't name. But the problem isn't you. It's the imbalance. The modern idea of mutual sacrifice isn't built on respect. It's built on guilt. Men are guilted into shrinking, into providing endlessly, into parenting both the kids and their wife's emotional whims. It's not mutual. It's lopsided, and it's silent until it breaks. And when it does, you're left explaining your pain to a system that only listens when she cries. You sacrificed your hobbies, your mental health, your sense of freedom, and still she says, "You don't understand me. You're never enough." But ask her, what did she give up? In many cases, the answer is nothing lasting. She kept her name. She kept her independence. She even kept the support after the breakup. And you? You kept the shame. But here's what men are now waking up to. Sacrifice without reciprocity is slavery. And love without mutual respect is just a trap wrapped in romance. You don't need to stop loving. You don't need to harden your heart. But you do need to protect your soul. Because when love becomes a ledger where only your side pays, you're not in a marriage. You're in a contract of quiet suffering. True commitment doesn't ask you to bleed while she dances. It asks you both to bleed together for a purpose you both honor. So the next time someone says, marriage is about sacrifice, ask them, whose blood is on the altar? And if it's always yours, walk away. That isn't love. It's spiritual debt. And your soul is not collateral. The emotional hostage crisis. There's a kind of warfare that leaves no bruises, no scars. But it breaks a man from the inside out. It's not physical. It's emotional manipulation. And in many modern marriages, this is the battlefield. Not because men are weak, but because love has been turned into leverage. You love her. She'll use that to control you. You care deeply. She'll test how far she can push you without losing your loyalty. This is how emotional hostage situations are born. At first, she plays the victim, tells you her traumas, unpacks her wounds, and you, being the man you are, step into the role of healer, protector, savior. But slowly, if you really loved me, you'd do this. You hurt me just like they did. I'm scared of you now. It's not a cry for help. It's a strategy. You are no longer her partner. You are her emotional hostage, bound by guilt, paralyzed by her pain, silenced by the fear of hurting her again. Even when you do nothing wrong, she controls your decisions by threatening emotional collapse. She withholds intimacy until you earn it. She makes you believe your masculine strength is dangerous, even abusive. But here's the dark irony. She feels safest with men she can control. And so she breaks the ones who actually care. You begin to walk on eggshells, second-guess your every move, censor your truth to keep the peace. And slowly, you vanish. You're still breathing, still providing, still pretending to be the man she married. But your fire, Your voice, your inner ground, gone. And if you try to speak up, she'll say, "You're making this about you again. You're gaslighting me. You're the narcissist." The moment you resist the leash, she cries victim again, and the world believes her. Because society has taught men to endure quietly, while excusing women's emotional chaos as sensitivity. But this is not sensitivity. This is emotional terrorism, holding love hostage, demanding obedience in the name of healing, punishing your masculinity while secretly craving it. And the longer you stay, the more you forget what freedom even feels like. But brother, hear this. You are not a rehabilitation center. You are not a sponge for someone else's unhealed wounds. Yes, love takes work. Yes, trauma is real. But when your presence becomes a prison, that's not healing, that's control. And if a woman needs you to be less so she can feel more, then she does not love you, she fears you. Not for what you've done, but for the mirror you hold up to her dysfunction. So reclaim your inner ground, not with violence, not with rage, but with clarity. Set boundaries that scare her. Speak truths that shake her. And if she walks away, let her. Because no love is worth losing yourself for, especially when your soul is chained to someone who only feels powerful when you feel small. The currency of control, why submission is never enough. Here's the final truth most men only realize once it's too late. Submission is never enough. You could bend over backwards, say yes to everything, apologize when you've done nothing wrong, give her your time, your money, your silence, your spine, and it still wouldn't be enough. Because control is a hunger that grows when it's fed. The moment she realizes you'll fold to avoid conflict, she will test how far she can bend you. And each time you comply, each time you choose peace over truth, she loses respect and gains more power. It's not about love anymore. It's about domination dressed up as emotional need. You think being the nice guy will save the relationship. You think proving your devotion will bring her back to who she used to be. But you're not in a love story anymore. You're in a compliance economy, where the currency is obedience and the reward is temporary approval. You'll chase it endlessly, like a man dying of thirst, sipping droplets from a poisoned cup. And just when you think you've earned her love back, she moves the goalpost again. Now you have to be more sensitive, more understanding, more emotionally fluent, more compliant, but never more you. Your needs disappear. Your boundaries fade. Your masculinity gets rewritten as toxicity, even when it's rooted in calm leadership. And deep down, she's not even happy, because even she doesn't respect the man who submits too easily. She wanted strength, but when she tested it and it broke, she felt abandoned by the very masculine core she once desired. This is the paradox. The more you give in, the more she pulls away. The more you try to please, the more she resents you. The more you lose yourself, the more she loses attraction. Because the deepest truth most men miss is this: women don't test you to ruin you. They test you to feel safe in your strength. And if you fail that test, by collapsing, appeasing, or vanishing, she'll feel abandoned even while you're right next to her. So stop trading your soul for a pat on the head. Stop believing that love means erasure. A real man isn't the one who submits quietly. He's the one who stands tall in the storm, not to dominate, but to remain himself in the face of emotional chaos. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to play games. You just need to stop negotiating your core truth. Because once a woman learns she can own you emotionally, you are no longer her partner. You're her possession. If this resonated, take a moment to subscribe, drop a comment below, not for the algorithm, but to mark this chapter in your journey. If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're remembering, returning, reclaiming your inner ground. So trust that the video YouTube shows you next, the one appearing now, is not random. It's the next doorway, the next layer, and it will meet you exactly where you are. We'll see you in the next depth. Depthoria continues.